Welcome to How to Do Bible Word Studies, Beginners to Advanced. And tonight's topics are as follows. We are in the middle of our introduction. We're going to briefly see what is in your library that can help you do word studies. We'll briefly talk about recommended but not required resources to go further in your word studies. Then we'll talk about just what is the information we need when we do word studies. And then how do we begin to get that information? You can see there that we'll talk briefly about reading Hebrew and Greek. Don't panic. This is not designed to be an advanced course completely. And so we won't overwhelm you. And then there's a series of 8 steps that we are going to take you through tonight in working your way through all the tools and all the information you need to properly understand a word in the original language. And then we'll talk about other tools for word study. Now, for those of you who are new, what is the purpose of a webinar? Well, first, it's to provide training for Logos Bible software. And it's also to provide training so you can study the topic for yourself. I want to make you an expert in word studies tonight as much as I possibly can. Along the way, if it's possible and if it makes sense, we'll provide biblical insights related to the topic. Now, tonight is a little different. We're focusing on a methodology rather than a doctrine, so there won't be as many biblical insights. Also, if you purchase the webinar, we're going to provide a personal book or a manual to equip yourself. So everything that I'm doing tonight is available in a personal book, and you can see I have it open here on my screen. Once you buy the Logos webinar, and I'll provide that link in a moment, you'll be able to download this actually on the 8th of January when we release everything. We record and we edit the webinar as well. But you can see we've got a complete table of contents. And then in the actual personal book, we've got links to the bibliography, the collections we talk about, and various other notes. It's really a manual to go along with the webinar and will serve you well as a great reminder with all the links, the cross-references, etc. So I think you'll find that most helpful. At times, the webinar can be fast-paced, and it includes a lot of information to increase the training value. I'm presuming that you're going to get the webinar and you're going to download it, and you're going to be able to watch it and rewind it and review it. And so we're going to deal with things once and then move on. And don't feel like you have to follow live with me all the time. If you fall behind, don't worry. Just download the webinar and you'll be good to go. Some items, like I said, you'll be able to follow along. Others, it's best to just sit back and watch. And as I said, all the webinars are recorded and edited for purchase and later review. Now, don't forget you can pre-order the LearnLogos 7 training. About 14 hours of training have been released. It's available right now once you purchase the pre-order, and we've discounted the training for you. You can get it as a download-only option, a USB-only option, or both. And it's still a lot more videos to make, but we're cruising along. And we release new videos every week online for now. And then once the pre-order is done, then we ship the final download links and USB for offline viewing. So we're looking to shoot this, get it all done around February. Now, if you're interested in pre-ordering the webinar, you can go to LearnLogos.com/buy webinar. And we will release the webinar by this Sunday, apart from any technical issues that may happen. If you have an older version of Logos, 4, 5, or 6, you can order those at the corresponding links. Also, we're working on a how to study and prepare a message with your computer. It's a book. It's going to come in an electronic edition as well as a print edition, 200 pages, 14 chapters, and we're hoping to ship that at the end of February, and that's on sale as well. You can see the link up there, LearnLogos.com/digital sword. Now, the 2017 schedule has been updated. There's still a few more events later that have not been added, more towards September, October, November. But we do have the events up there now. And let me go ahead and bring that up so you can see that. And then you can sign up down below for all the events, like I said, through September. If you do have some webinar suggestions, feel free to email me at webinars@LearnLogos.com. So what are some of the upcoming webinars? Well, we've got how to study the major prophets at the end of February. We've got how to observe any biblical text part 2. So this is a continuation of last year when we did part 1. Then in April, how does Paul use the Old Testament? In May, how to study the spiritual disciplines. In May, end of May, understanding the problem of evil, suffering, and persecution in the Bible. So I think you'll find that most helpful as well. All right, so I'm going to go to the very beginning of the personal book, and let's start off with a real simple question. what's in your library. Now on my screen, you can see that I have a collection that is going to help you determine what books you have in your library right now without purchasing any more that can help you in word studies. Now, it turns out I've already created this rule and pasted it at Faith Life. So let me show you where to go so you can just simply copy and paste this rule rather than trying to read my screen and figure it out. So what you want to do is you want to go to faithlife.com, faithlife.com. Then at the very top where it says Find People and Groups, just type in LearnLogos.com. 2 results will come back. Just click on the first one, LearnLogos.com presentation. Now, if you haven't joined this LearnLogos.com presentation, you'll be asked to join. That's very important that you join the group, all right? Then all you got to do is just go to News, click on News, and you'll see the comment. And you can simply select the text, right-click, and copy, and select the rule, right-click, and copy. And you can get that information right away. So I thought I'd give you that rule out of the gate just to make life a little bit easier. Now, you're probably wondering, where do we put this rule? So let's go ahead and do that together. So you want to go to the main menu and click on Tools. Then you want to choose Collections from the menu. And here is where you want to put in the collection name in that first white box. And then in the second white box, you want to put in the rule. Now let me go ahead and just open up that one. And you can see what this will look like when it's all finished. Now, the number of books may vary based on your library. But you can see we have the collection name up here. And we have the collection rule. Now, if you're wondering why it's spelled this way, let me explain. L7 represents version Logos 7. 03 represents the third step in the Bible study process that I teach in my Logos 7 training. And word studies obviously represents the category of or topic that we're discussing. So that's why this isn't just simply word studies. You'll notice that not all the books in there are just lexicons. We've got some encyclopedias and some other specific books that I have found helpful in doing word studies. That's why the rule's a little more complicated and has some of these additional elements. So once you've got that rule typed in, go ahead and click New. I like to do that to make sure that that Logos has saved the rule and that I don't accidentally overwrite the rule. So that's just a good habit to get in. You click New before you get started, put in the rule and the name, and then click New when you're finished. And that will protect you from accidentally overwriting the rule. Okay, so that's a real simple rule that you can use to determine how many lexicons you have in your library. Now, I have a few other collections in the personal book that you'll get, and I just want to run those by you real quick. There's a grammar collection where we put all the grammars in a collection so you can search them and only them. And the rule for that is real simple. It's just type :grammar. Then we have commentaries, because there's a lot of word studies that are done in commentaries. And so searching for a word, which we're going to demonstrate later in the webinar, searching for a word in a commentary can be very useful. So we've got a special rule for that, type : Bible commentaries. And then we've got a special rule here where it's all your resources except Bibles, lexicons, dictionaries, grammars, and commentaries. In other words, everything that is in your library that we haven't looked at, okay? Because when you do word studies, you've looked at your Bibles, your lexicons, your dictionaries, your grammars, your commentaries. It would be handy to have a rule that ignored those, and then you search everything else in your library. And as you can see, the rule is right here. So this is just some rules to organize your library. One of the challenges we have in Logos is so much information is thrown at us. And then what do you do with all that information? And that's one of the reasons behind collections. What you want to do is organize your steps of study and organize your books so that you're only looking at the information you need for a particular step. This will allow you to focus on the best material first. And that's really the strategy behind various collections. All right, so let's take a few moments, because I get this question all the time. John, what kind of books do you recommend? The Septuagint, and then we'll look at the New Testament, and then any other information it will provide there as well. The equivalent to this for the Old Testament is the New International Dictionary of Old Testament Theology and Exegesis by Wilhelm Van Gemeren, and he's a Hebrew scholar, and he gives you a lot of information as well on the words. So definitely take advantage of those resources. In my Logos 6 training and forthcoming Logos 7 training, I have a whole section on book overviews where I go through all the major lexicons. They're short videos, 1 to 2 minutes. So if you get that training, you'll be able to get the complete list of word study dictionaries. Let's jump into number 4 here. And before we get into using Logos for doing word studies, I think it's important to pause for a moment and really talk about what is the kind of information we're looking for when we do a word study. Because with Logos, there is so much information at your fingertips at a right click that it can be overwhelming. And if you don't know where the information is or what to do with the information, you can misinterpret or worse, miss out on some information that could be very valuable. So let me just give you some simple reminders, some principles, and then we'll work through these in practice. But first, I have to stress, context, context, context. A word means what it means in the verse, in the sentence, in the paragraph, in the book, and what it means, okay? We always let the context drive the definition. And this is important because the same word can be used in 2 different places and the context can shift the meaning. So always remember that the meaning is finalized in the immediate context. I would like to take a minute and talk about the anatomy of a lexicon. Once you understand this, it's a very powerful insight into what lexicons are and why you don't have to be afraid of them. Okay, so I'm going to open up my Bible. And you probably have done this. And I'm just going to go to the book of Jude. To those who are the called, beloved in God the Father, kept for Christ Jesus. Now, I'm going to right click on the word called, okay? And I'm going to choose lemma from my right menu, and I'm going to choose search this resource. So I'm only going to search my Bible, and you can open up any Bible. Now, when I run the search, you can see the search results here. There are 10 places where this word called showed up. Now, as you've probably done this hundreds of times, this is a basic concordance search. Now, let's do a Bible word study and open up a lexicon. So I'm going to right click once again on called. To access the lexicons and dictionaries, always remember lemma. And the way I remember it is manuscript means man-scripted. So that means the physical text, the Greek Bible, the Hebrew Bible. So we don't want to go there. Lemma, the first 2 letters, L-E, is the same first 2 letters of lexicon. And that's how I always remember lemma lexicon. And so we click on lemma, and then we look for Bible word study in the menu at the left, and we click on that. Now I'm going to open up the DBL Greek. As I said before, it's a great concise dictionary. And here's what's really cool. So if you look at the dictionary, it says that there are 2 possible meanings. Called, implying a relationship or task, and 2, invited. Now, this is DBL's interpretation. Now, if we actually look through, you'll notice that there's a little plus here. And it says, I have cited every reference in regard to this lexeme discussed under this definition. So let's see if he has. Let's count them. Matthew 22, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He has 11. So it's this Matthew 20:16 that's throwing me off. And notice what he said, a varia lectio, meaning a variant reading. So that's why there's this extra one that shouldn't be counted, and that's why we had 11 instead of 10. So what I want you to see is this incredible connection. The concordance search is giving you all the places where the words are, and the lexicon has already organized that for you. And that's why lexicons are so helpful, because they save us the time. Now, should you do one versus the other? The answer really is it depends. Sometimes it makes sense, or it's necessary, to open up your Bible concordance and read every context to get a better sense. Sometimes it's too many verses. You're going to have to go to the lexicon and let them summarize it for you. Very, very cool. So once you realize that a lexicon is just a concordance organized by definition, you see the benefits of this. You may be wondering, why is my Jude 1 highlighted? Well, we are first in the book of Jude, and we're opened up to Jude 1. So Logos highlights it for me. And this is helpful because it's telling me that my verse is mentioned in this dictionary, and that this dictionary thinks that Jude 1 is the first definition, not the second. Now, how did Jude 1 get highlighted? It's real easy to enable this feature. Just click on the visual filters icon, as you see here, and look for the menu choice under resource. So if it's not expanded, you'll need to click the triangle to expand it. And you want to choose emphasize active references. You want to check that box, and you'll have to do this for every dictionary. Once you check it though, leave it checked and never worry about it again. So check and then leave it alone. By having that checked, if the Bible is open to your passage, then it'll be highlighted. Now watch this. I'm going to go to Revelation 17:14 to just demonstrate this feature live. So here we're in 17:14. We go back to our dictionary. Jude 1 is no longer highlighted. Now 17:14 is. So we know that 17:14 falls into this first definition. So when you're working with a very expansive dictionary like the TDNT, in fact, let's do that. I'm going to go to my Bible word study. I'm going to locate the TDNT. I'm going to click on the word, and I'm just going to scroll down. Oh, I better make sure I have the emphasize on. And look at that, I didn't have it on. So I'm going to click on resource. Emphasize active references is turned on. Let's click the link, and now we can scroll down and find it. And so that's a good example of making sure if you don't see it, to check your menu. And there we go. So you can see how helpful it is to find this information. So a very powerful feature in Logos, saving you the time to get you to the definition as quickly as possible. Now, that's not to say the other information isn't relevant and important, but the first step in a word study is to get to the definition as quickly as possible. So that covers the anatomy of the lexicon. Now, let's talk about lexical meaning or dictionary form. What does all that mean? Because when you right-click, as we did in New American Standard, and I'll do it again, if you right-click on any word, you got this manuscript, you got the lemma. So let's walk through some of these terms so you understand them. So the lemma, think of, if I can give you an illustration of a simple tree. You have a root system. Let's ignore the trunk for now, but you have branches, and then you have fruit. Think of lemmas as the branch. And so it's going to help us find all the fruit, which would be the manuscripts. And then, of course, you have the root. The lemma is what you're going to find in dictionaries. The manuscript is what you're going to find in Bibles. And the root kind of connects them all. And we'll look at this even more closely.